What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today I got one of my bucket list fish that I thought I would never be able to find. Back in the day when I was really into keeping crazy exotic fish and rare fish, it was very easy. But nowadays, since I kind of slowed that down, all my friends that I used to talk to that used to be able to help me get a lot of good stuff kind of disappeared. Not because I haven't talked to them in a long time, it's just that I haven't been really interested in keeping the rare or more exotic type of fish. But when a deal comes along the way, I sometimes can't even refuse. And in this case, I didn't refuse at all. It's very hard for you to find this type of fish unless you know somebody that brings them in. But in my case, I don't really source for that type of stuff anymore, and I only have my local fish store. So if they can get it, I'll take it. Let me turn off that air. It's much better. So one of the first fishes that I've ever kept that wasn't a koi or my dad's like arowanas and whatnot was a reed fish. I picked this fish out when I was younger, and I had that fish for about 4 to 5 years. During that time I was pretty young, so I wasn't really into fish like that. Along with that, I also like the slender body type of fish like eels and all that stuff. So this pretty much translates to the type of fish that I keep now. Along the way I've kept regular Senegals, albinos, and then I stepped up to Delhaizees. Had a big group of them at one point. They were pretty big and they looked really nice. Unfortunately, I did have to sell them just because I was getting new fish in. So sold those 3, stopped keeping Delhaize, and I started keeping Payara. After keeping Payaras for a while, I ended up getting back into bikers by keeping these 4, which are the 2 Enlees and the 2 Laps. The 2 Enlees I think are wild caught, but the finlets tell me otherwise. There's definitely nothing wrong with captive bred bikers. I have 4 of them and I love them to death. But sometimes you just want the wild caught ones. Sometimes you just want the ones that are like a little bit more rare. So after not going to a fish store for a couple months, which is a long time, I came across this fish. I saw the fish and I knew I was going to pick it up. I just didn't know when. When I first saw it, I knew exactly what it was. I saw the fins and I saw the head shape, but I was really surprised no one picked him up. And it wasn't going for too bad of a price either. The new fish that we got today is a wild caught lap. At least I think it is. There's a lot of confusion online between wild caught laps and PBBs, which are the kind of baller type of bikers. They're like the luxurious bikers that everyone kind of goes for. It's usually either the PBBs or the Cognis or whatever, all those spoonhead bikers. But this one, I think it's a wild caught lap. There's a lot of Facebook groups out there and Monster Fish Keeper threads about the wild caught laps and PBBs. Some people kind of categorize them as the same type of fish, and others categorize the difference in them. Some people count finlets and some people look at head shape and whatnot. But all in all, to me they look kind of the same, so I'm really excited about this guy. So the biker was in a tank that was kind of towards the back of the fish store. I think this tank is where the LFS keeps all the fish that a lot of people donate. And surprisingly enough, this is one of the fish that someone donated, I think. Because in that tank there was arowanas in there were Oscars, flower horns, a bunch of random fish that you would never really think about looking in that tank. Luckily for me, this biker was hiding underneath the ripsaw catfish this whole time that it was there. Apparently it was there for a couple months. When I finally took some time to look into that aquarium and saw the tail kind of like towards the edge of the ripsaw cat, I knew what it was, and I asked the LFS owner to move this catfish so I can see what's underneath. I knew it was a biker, I didn't know it was a lap. I immediately saw the long narrow spines on his back and the huge head, and I knew that was going to be mine. I was going to pick that up, I just didn't know when. And the reason why I didn't want to pick him up is because I was afraid I didn't have enough room. As you can see, I have 4 bikers in this tank right now, and when they grow up, they're going to need a lot of room. So in order for me to make space for this fish, I had to rearrange a lot of things around the house. So the first thing that I did was I moved the wolf into the 40-gallon where the goldfish were. And the reason why I think this is beneficial is because whenever the wolf is in a shallow type of tank, or even when I was treating him in the bucket, his tail was not floating. When I moved him into the 40-gallon, he didn't have the floating issue anymore. I'm not too sure if it's the depth of the aquarium, but he wasn't floating. So this benefited the wolf because now he can lay down and hang out. And I was getting kind of tired of medicating him. I didn't want to stress him too much. So if I have to move him into the 40-gallon and he doesn't float, then that's good for me. Also, that made space for this tank. Now for the goldfish and the guppies that were in that 40-gallon, the guppies stayed where they were. The guppy's too small, the wolf won't even be able to catch them. For the goldfish, I went ahead and moved them into the guppy breeding project. So the goldfish are now in barrel and doing perfectly fine until they grow older, and that's when I'm planning on moving them outside to the pond. So with the wolf out of this aquarium, I have a little bit more space for this lap. And another reason why moving the wolf out of this aquarium benefit all the bikers in here is because now I can take out all of the wood and give the bikers more floor space. In this aquarium, I had 2 large pieces of wood dedicated for just the wolf. The wolf had a floating issue, so it used the wood to kind of stay stationary. And without that wood, in this aquarium at least, the wolf's tail would always rise. So now that the wolf's not in this aquarium, I was able to take out all the wood, and now all the bikers in here, including the new one, have so much more floor space. My whole time keeping bikers, they never really needed to hide at all. If you give them something to hide under, they'll sometimes hide under it, but for the most part, they're out roaming anyways. And taking out that decoration might benefit them way more than you actually think. You'll see a lot of guys overseas keeping bikers, and they're always in bare bottom aquariums, and they're always packed in there and whatnot. And the reason why is because if there was pieces of wood, specific bikers will claim territories and they'll get really aggressive. I've noticed with my Enly, this happened a lot. There was a lot of fighting because I had pieces of wood. Every once in a while when I do water changes, I had to move this piece of wood around to kind of reset the territory. And with no territory to claim, the bikers don't get aggressive and everyone just kind of gets along. And for a bonus, when there's no decorations, they do the polypile. If you haven't seen the polypile, it's when all the bikers kind of stack up on top of each other and they just kind of chill like that, which is pretty cool. So that's it for today's video. I just want to give you guys a little update on the channel and the new biker. So hopefully we'll be able to grow them out really nicely, and hopefully it'll color up really well, and we'll be able to show you guys the difference between wild caught and captive bred. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next one, and peace guys.